All right.
Seven knows.
And we are live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. We've got a great show lined up. We're scheduled for Kinga. She hasn't logged in yet, but the plan is that we're going to talk to Kinga. Kinga's been on the show a number of times about some previous episodes. You will not be disappointed. Really great guest. She's a Red-bull X-Alps pilot and not a rookie anymore. She's now considered a veteran and has done very well um, and is just an incredible human being. And she's now doing guided tours, paragliding, and super cool. So we're supposed to have her on the show. We're going to just wait for her to log in. I'm still waiting for for her to connect. In the meantime, I do want to just mention the sponsors like we always do. One of those is PBG Smoke. PBGsmoke.com is the website that I recommend that you go to get your PPG stuff from. PBGsmoke.com is the website name. And then you want to find all the most recent things that are going on. There's actually a mailing list you can get on for him with updates and all the just the cool stuff that's happening. So go check out his website, pbgsmoke.com. Then also want to mention one of the other sponsors is Harley Milne. He actually has a school in Nebraska, in Southern California. And I said that last week. Well, he's got this special kind of niche training that it's not just for beginners, although he'll do well with beginners as well. But he's training guys that want to go and do adventure flying with paramotors, and he's got some incredible
He'll,
feats that he's already
he'll have
accomplished.
you fly in one way 300 miles on your third day.
Yeah, yeah,
Always
And really
trust him.
rack up the miles.
yeah. You know how that goes. So yeah, he's just a great guy all around. He's been on the show multiple times and just a really good sponsor. So go check out his website, dreamlifterparamotors.com. And there's a link in the description. And also Anthony's putting those in the chat. So welcome. Glad that you're here. Super stoked. Want to mention paramotorprops.com, paramotorprops.com in case you blow up a prop. Best place to get one, a new one right away, quickly shipped to your house or wherever you're at, wherever you want it shipped. Paramotorprops.com. It's the only place I know where you can buy exclusively some props that are reasonably priced. So go check that out and be a part of the program. Yes. So interesting stuff. I don't know. Do you think we can talk about that event, Scotty, that we were talking about just before the show on the border?
Oh,
It
yeah.
wouldn't
I
be a problem,
guess.
right?
What do you think, Anthony?
It's all hearsay.
Yeah,
I mean,
we don't have a lot of
maybe there's a
details.
news article about it, but we know very little information. So
Who
Scotty probably has been talking about it pre-show.
who
So
has the news article?
Let me see if there is one.
that'd be
You
one
go
of
in
the
the Google
guys.
machine.
That'd be one of
Yeah.
the guys in our group. Um, but we were having a conversation about it today. I'm thinking it was, you know,
Oh, Kinga's trying to log in here. Hold on just a
Oh,
second
cool.
here. I'm gonna try this one more time. Invite.
kind
Yeah,
of
if you can
awesome.
find that article, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Let me just see here. 8.
I want to know who's training him. Fly Venture,
Right.
Fly Venture, Tijuana. That's Ivan's group. We had to take roll call, and we're missing a couple guys. Just ironically, a couple guys are missing from our
It
group.
happens. Yeah.
That was funny when it said roll call.
hmm
Then you start counting, you're like, mhm.
Scotty, did you hear about it prior to one in our
No,
group?
I just heard it from someone in our group. So pretty much what we heard third hand, I can't substantiate this,
Confirm
but
nor
someone
deny.
said that someone said that Border Patrol arrested a paramotorist. It could have been
Two,
ultralight,
two.
two. Okay. Bring smuggling drugs across the border. So yeah, using a paramotor.
And
So
I'm assuming near in our town, near
that's what I'm assuming too. But you know, I do know that like they used to have the ultralights used to do that, but they do it like in the middle of the night kind of thing. And they would like crash in the Borrego Desert and things like that, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, but you know, I mean,
well, we're gonna find out this weekend when we fly Sunday morning if right at launch we get taken out of the sky. So I don't know.
the part that's a little scary is they do have the helicopters up here all the time, and that, you know, they don't show up on like Gaggle or Flight Radar because they're, you know, the government ones, and half the time they're just like all black. But that's the kind of, and usually they're very, very low, and they're usually moving very slow too, so they're hard to pick up just like we are, you know. So that's always kind of my biggest fear, is having one of them hit us. And there are actually a lot of drones up against the border wall as well.
And now I think Scott's said too much. In fact, the show will be erased and off the internet by the night at midnight. And it was nice knowing you guys. And
it was.
Those
so they're gonna be Scott who I'm gonna be deleted. Yeah.
Those same black helicopters are gonna come and pick you up.
Yep. Someone's knocking at my door. Hold on.
Honey, who's at the door?
Right.
Speaking of knocking at the door, Kinga is with us. Yes.
Wow, it's morning time there.
Yes, New Zealand. Oh, it's flyable right now too. Look at those clouds.
Look at it. She's chiming in. That's awesome.
I really hope she didn't take a flying day off.
Look at she. Oh man. Now.
I sent her the wrong code, by the way.
Yeah. Hi guys.
I believe it. Hey, Kinga.
That's the second time I've done that to people. I'm so sorry, Kinga. That was my fault.
That's all right. I just thought that, oh my God, it's always something with me. Either I'm getting confused when it comes to time zone, or the internet doesn't work somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and now this. But this time at least it's not my fault, so it makes me feel better.
Yeah, totally my fault. Doing too much over here. I got too many things, too many buttons to push on this. I shouldn't even be allowed to do this kind of stuff. So glad you're here. Again, if you guys don't know who Kinga is, she is probably one of the most excellent women on the planet. And you'll find out if you watch the show. But in the end, go back, watch some of the previous episodes too. I'm not going to ask all the same questions I asked on the other episodes, so you won't be disappointed. She's now a veteran pilot with the Red-bull X-Alps, and absolutely incredible what she's been able to accomplish. Some of the tasks and things that are put on her plate to accomplish, she doesn't even bat an eye. She just says, okay, let's go for it, and she'll try it. And she's just got a really good handle on the sport, and great people surrounding her. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm super stoked. Thank you, Kinga, so much for coming on. I already took care of all the sponsors, so it worked out. You didn't miss anything.
I missed the sponsor introduction, but thank you for the super kind introduction. Now we'll have to I don't know, I will have to show up for it.
Yeah you are one of the inspiration for a lot of pilots that we've and I've been following you from the very beginning, when you were the rookie, and you said I'm gonna start this adventure into the Red-bull X-Alps. And it's an interesting one, being that, you're a female going into a sport that is predominantly men, and it's a dual athlete sport. It's got, all the challenges that are involved. But what caught my attention was your willingness to be open about how you feel at any given time during maybe it wasn't the X-Alps, but your adventure, whether it was exuberant and exciting and joy-filled, or fear and anxiety and depression, or whatever, you didn't hold back at all. And you're sharing with the world what you feel. And many people will buy a GoPro that are into paragliding so that they can share those emotions. And you encapsulated that well from the very beginning. And so there's a great story. Again, if you haven't started following Kinga, you should. and you will not be disappointed. So Kinga, let's talk a little bit about the driving force. What moves you into this adventure mindset? What do you think is the driving force? What brought you into, oh, and now she's taking guided tours with paragliding. We'll talk a little bit about that more.
That's everything at once, eh? We will talk about everything at once.
What's the driving force? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so thanks again for this really, real nice introduction. You know, paragliding has always been, from the very beginning, has always been very emotional journey for me. And it's in my approach to it, and my emotions that I'm involved into paragliding have changed dramatically within these years. I've been flying now for a decade, almost. In April it will be exactly my 10th anniversary of flying, and I've been chasing it from the very first term out pretty hard. Basically all my life has been evolving around flying in this or that way, and chasing the summer and chasing the conditions and chasing or kind of co-creating a community around it. And I've from the very first moment I left the ground on this very first training hill. When you do these little hops that you're basically just a few meters above the ground, you're not really flying, you're basically falling slowly. I was totally hooked, and I knew that it would be a very important part of my life. And especially the beginning, and let's say first couple of years when I was I was very hungry for flying, but I also had very, very little idea what I should or shouldn't be doing, and what are the potential consequences. I was chasing it really hard. I was really hungry for it. It brought me immense amount of joy, but also I got scared shitless a few times. Let's be honest here, and had a few really, really close calls. And it's this type of, like, whoever flies, we all know it, that paragliding can be everything, can bring you from zero to hero and back in minutes, if not seconds, very easily. And everything is very all the colors are very bright, or the emotions can be very on the very, very opposite sides of the spectrum. So when I entered the sport, I didn't have any way of connecting to it. I came from some other sports, from some ski touring and climbing, especially. My rock climbing and alpinism was a pretty big part of my life. By the way, since I started flying, I never touched the rock again. It completely disappeared from my life. But back then it was a very big thing, which of course involves risk management, etc. But I was really young, so when you're very young, you're immortal, basically. So you don't really think about it. You fall, you just shake it off, or you just heal your bones and you jump back on it. While with paragliding, I realized pretty quickly that there's like a real risk involved, and if you keep chasing it like I did at the beginning in a very hungry way, without much idea what's okay and what's not, then you can get hurt pretty quickly. You will run out of luck, and you will simply if you run out of luck before you will gain enough experience, that's not a good balance. And when I finally went through my intermediate syndrome and infamous intermediate syndrome and my first spring, I got really scared, and I got really depressed because I got so scared. So I didn't enjoy this awesomeness of flying as much as I did at the very beginning, where I was unaware of potential danger and risk involved. And then altogether, because I kept chasing it, even if I was scared, I moved to, I did a few interesting flights in Europe. Then I traveled a little bit. I moved to New Zealand, and we talked about the New Zealand mountains a little bit the previous time. But for those of you who don't know New Zealand, Southern Alps are pretty remote. The weather is very changeable. There's pretty remote, so there's basically no roads. The weather is very changeable and pretty complex, because we're on island with sea breeze coming from both sides, and the weather from the ocean or from Tasman Sea coming in a pretty sudden and violent way very often. And it was my first encounter with mountains that are not European Alps, and where you go out there, you are alone and you have to be very self-reliant. And this on top of it added to this, on the one hand, it really woke up some big dreams. My kind of center self really responded to it as like, wow, this is something that I want to do. I want to be good a pilot enough, but also be a resilient and strong person enough to go out there alone in the mountains, take responsibility for my own decisions, and make right decisions for my level, for conditions and all this stuff. And it started quite a long journey that wasn't only paragliding journey, but also a big journey of self-discovery, because I always like to, and this is also, you mentioned that I do some coaching, and I do, and I also repeat it to my pilots, and I see it over and over again in different pilots. It shows in different ways that we fly the way we live. So anything that we have unsolved in life, anything that bothers us, anything that takes our attention from now and then, and all the distractions that we focus on, and all the this kind of lack of mindfulness, the way we live, it will really come out in our flying. Because if you are alone in remote mountains for sometimes days, but let's say also for a few hours in the air, you have a lot of time to have to really deal with your emotion, with your honest self, who you really are. And on the ground, we can very often cheat it. We can pretend that we are someone that we are not. We can blame others, or we can lie that it wasn't our fault, or that's not that we are something that we are not. And in the air and in the mountains, it will all come together, and it will really, we are very naked, if you wish, very we have to become very honest with ourselves, otherwise we'll either burn out or potentially get hurt if we are not honest with our capability and skill and mindset. So answering in this very long way, this question was a driving force. So my driving force, of course, was always about exploring and about doing things for the first time, and being about beauty. It took me a while to really connect to what truly drives me. And the first thing that it's really at the very base of my flying is beauty, and this beauty of flying in the remote mountains, and looking at these places that would be very difficult to access otherwise, not to mention to see them from this perspective of being a bird. This is definitely my driving force. But also when it comes to sharing these emotions, I always try to connect to it and be very honest about it, because when I started flying, there was basically no narrative connected to fear or what we deal with being out there, and all the also negative emotions and all the downs. There was only there was plenty of ups, plenty of really epic, great, all the general narrative on, I don't know, on articles that I would read, or general media, not so much social media back then, but still was generally how epic and how awesome it all is. And most of us, when we progress, we understand that, and we sooner or later we see that it's not only about this how epic it is, but to get to this point how epic it is, we have to also go through some downs. There are not only ups in the sport, but as much as it can bring us this absolutely incredible joy and beauty and satisfaction, in the same way these emotions that are on the other side are there too. So I from very naturally, from the very beginning, I started sharing it. And again, as much as it was at the beginning, it was a lot of battling with navigating my life around flying, navigating my approach to risk, and my fear of various unknown factors. Of course, all these things evolved together with my flying, and also I evolved as a person within this year. So I'm a completely different person than when I started flying. Some core forces are still there, but my approach to flying, my approach to my emotions around flying are very different now. And I mean, if I was at the same point, of course, that would mean that I basically wasted 10 years. So I guess it's good that it's evolving, but of course it's changing. Like, we are all growing, and the same way that we live the way we fly. Just to finish this monologue, the way that we live the way we fly, I also strongly believe and see it again and again, not only in me but in other pilots too, that this progress in flying and the journey that we have to travel to progress safely and push ourselves into flying and follow our path in flying, because there's so many ways to fly paraglider. There's not just one way fits all. This journey itself will immensely impact our life, our daily life, and the life on the ground. So it's all interconnected, and I'm still really enjoying the ride, as passionate about it as I was at the very beginning.
Let's talk a little more about your guided tours. I would like to get some kind of a link, if you're open to this, if someone wanted to come and fly with you, if you can maybe help me connect the dots. If you're willing to train people from, let's say, somebody in the United States watching this show wanted to come and fly with you, if you could give me some kind of connection for that. And then also, I'm interested in the feedback that you're getting from these guided tours and taking people on these adventure flights.
Yeah. So within the last few years, I've been more and more focused and also gaining more and more experience when it comes to guiding and coaching pilots. And it's really, as we said, it's like the flying is it can be different for everyone. I actually have had within the last few years quite a few American pilots that are actually always amazing. I mean, all my pilots are amazing. I guess that's also something already. There's some connection, because if someone comes to me, I'm pretty honest about what my flying is about and what I have to share. So I guess people also gravitate to particular way of traveling through the mountains with the paraglider, going for the first vol bivacs, gaining some confidence in the mountains, or maybe dealing with various we all deal with various emotions like anxiety or fear, and so there's always a good connection there already from the beginning. And let's be honest, after we spend a few days out there in the mountains and we fly together, some of these pilots become dear friends for forever. So how does it work? Usually it works. There are kind of two main ways of my working with pilots. One is that every year we organize some we call it vol bivac clinics in little groups. Not so much in New Zealand anymore. After a couple of times, I realized that doing it in New Zealand in particular on one-on-one is more beneficial. We can talk about it a little bit more later, but in particular in the European Alps and the Indian Himalayas, we every year we do a group, and these group clinics are usual. There's quite an extensive intro to it. So we fly different places, learn to kind of fly together and build a team. We repack our gear. We focus. There's a lot of feedback when it comes to flying, when it comes to takeoffs and landings and top landings. We train top landings as much as possible because this is quite an important and underestimated a part of going vol bivac. Otherwise, you always have to land at the bottom of the valley and hike up, and it's becoming pretty old pretty quickly. So we work on all this aspect that can make our adventure to come safer and more enjoyable. Yes, and then we go PV, and these groups are amazing. So I try to always, I put a lot of attention to create these groups in such a way that the pilots are in a similar level, because of course otherwise it would be frustrating from some and too stressful for others, and would make sense. And also character-wise, that they create a good team. So I always ask a lot of questions at the beginning, and we have some video chats and just try to kind of decipher if what they expect and what type of goals and expectations they have, if this is something that will answer this expectations. And in general, these groups are amazing. There's some magic happening there, including some feedback of kind of life-changing stories, so that affect some pilots, not only in the way that it's flying progress and mountain kind of progress, but in various other areas in life, which is always amazing. And so there's this group dynamics that can be pretty incredible. And some pilots come back for another tour in another place, or for another group, or from one-on-one. So I guess there's generally pretty positive feedback when it comes to this group. Some magic can happen there very easily, and we fly a lot. The other thing I do, it's one-on-one coaching, guiding, and this one is very dependent on what the pilot is, how much experience they have, what type of skills, where they're coming from, how much mountain experience, what's their background. So we do quite an extensive interview before, so we know how to plan it and how to prepare for it. But also pilots come with different ideas. Some of them want to just go into the mountains in the most beautiful place possible and spend the night out, and some want to fly as much as possible. Some want to break the personal best in the mountains. Some so fly as far as possible and don't care about bivouac at all. Some pilots I've been working with really 10-hour pilots to, I think the most experienced pilot I've worked this year was 2,500-hour pilot, who's been an instructor for 20 something years and just wanted to get into vol bivouac and wanted in the high mountains. So we went for it. So of course, working with pilots at such a different level of experience, of course, is very different too. And I need to adjust adequately. So it's lower airtime pilots, of course, require, we call it handling. So there's more spiral diving, more very precise presence on the radio, and of course the goals that we set have to be good for this particular level. And if it's a very experienced pilot, we just go big and don't look back. So there's like something for everyone, really. And for groups, we have a particular kind of entry level, because let's say that pilots under 150 hours usually just don't have enough freedom of movement and freedom in thermaling to be independent enough to be a part of the group and stay with the little group. It just takes too much focus to just stay in the thermal or take off. They need a little bit what I call handling, which is perfectly fine, but for the group it may not be perfect. Then I usually suggest one-on-one, and then we can work around anything. And I've had beginner pilots flying over big glaciers, and I had pilots who were basically freshly signed off, coming for maybe not necessarily what we call big vol bivouac expeditions, but night out and flying out. And so there's something for everyone. And I really believe that there's like, if you approach it, if you have a right mentorship, which I didn't have, and that would save me a lot of drama at the beginning of my journey. But if you have a right mentorship, it's really never too early to go out there and explore mountain flying and explore vol bivouac and hike and fly and the beauty around. So, and also the very last thing that I started doing lately, there was a pilot who came to me, who lives in Europe, and asked if I would help them progress in some more structured way, because they felt overwhelmed with what and how to read the weather, and what to actually read, what to focus on, because there's so much information out there. It feels overwhelming, and they have a whole bunch of books and videos, and still don't quite kind of connect to how not to get overwhelmed and how to progress in a safe way, and find and plan goals that are right for the progression. So we've been actually working remotely for almost 3 months, and it's been amazing, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I see a lot of really good progress that also spreads not only from flying and knowledge about flying and technical part of flying, but also into other areas of their life. So it's super satisfying to see, and it's something that never crossed my mind that I would kind of advertise this kind of remote coaching, because paragliding is about airtime. We all know it. The more you fly, the more you learn. But the more I learned about flying, the more I connected to the fact that it's such a mental journey, and so much of our flying progression happens on the ground, and big part of it can happen even when we have full-time job and family duties and other parts of life, and very limited time. So we can get very ready, but mentally and physically, and when it comes to skills and preparation and planning, and when the day comes and we finally have this day off, and we know how to read the weather, we know what to expect, and we know how to go for it, just to squeeze this special day as much as possible. So that's a lot happening lately, and it's very, very exciting to me too. Yeah,
that's super exciting. I've been following a little bit on Instagram, and you can follow Kinga on Instagram. I'm sure you've been seeing what I've been sharing. We'll share some links in the description as well. Let's spin the wheel to do the giveaway like we always do. We'll go ahead and do that if you're ready for that, Sean.
While he's setting that up, a real quick question. While you were explaining that really well, Robert was showing, I don't know if you can see the video, but Robert was showing you flying 5,000 meters over the where was she, the Alps or the Himalayas? And that must have been some experience for you there, huh?
Yes. So I think what Robert was showing was actually above 6,000 meters there over Himalayas, in quite a remote area. And it was absolutely wild, because I came to India. I flew in. On the first day I did, I think, 5.2. On the second day I did this 6,000, almost 6,200 meters. Of course, no oxygen, no acclimatization. Wow. So very, very conscious way of flying, and this is flying in the mountains. I keep saying it on various occasions. Flying in high mountains, a big part of solo flying in high mountains is about it's not this particular one, but there's it's one of those. So big part is a little bit earlier on my wall. Earlier. It's pretty obvious. There's like a big air. I'm really high, and there's a very big earlier.
and just an equal question too. I'm sorry, where do I get those goggles?
The goggles are pretty special, aren't they? They're called Fluga Sports. It's and they have a really, I really like them, because they have a very good double Zeiss lenses in different shades, whatever you need. Very good field of vision, but they're not as bulky as these big goggles, and protect your eyes pretty well. So nice. There is a good compromise between sunnies and between sunglasses and proper ski goggles that for me are just too bulky and too claustrophobic. So these are pretty cool. But coming back to just very quickly to this particular flight in the Himalayas, second day I went to 6.2, got slightly hypoxic, landed at 4,000 meters, set up the camp, super stoked to be out there in the mountains, going big for it. And at night, the big storm came, full on blizzard, snowing horizontally. And I'm already at this point pretty well prepared. I've been in various mountain bivvies and conditions. So I was sitting in my tent in a very cozy sleeping bag. I was like, okay, I'm good. The tent is really anchored. Nothing will move it. I'm super happy here. But then the thunder came, and then it started like hitting everywhere around, and I was super exposed on this mountains.
Wow.
Kind of didn't didn't think this one through very well. And then I got really, so I was like, when we were thinking, oh, I don't get scared so often anymore in the mountains because I've been through a lot of things and I know where my limits are, where the gliders limits are, what I can or cannot do. This one was a little bit more that I signed up for. So I was sitting on my mattress, and at some point I thought, well, I don't want to die struck by lightning, so maybe I can just get out, hide somewhere on the lee side, and the tent will stay here, because there was like completely bare mountain, nothing to
Wow.
like nowhere to hide, no trees, of course, way above the tree line, and I got out of the tent and immediately got basically pushed back together with the cloud of snow. I was like, well, I'm not going out. And I was just really like not a weather, not a night for wandering around. So I just sat there and tried to isolate myself as much as possible from anything potentially, and just kind of survive the night. And in the morning, I woke up to this incredible white wonderland. Everything was covered with a foot of snow, and then I was just getting out with a very, very interesting, that getting out from there and flying out and hiking and flying and hailing and whatever is happening. There was a lot of interesting things happening. The full-on Himalayan adventure. So I came for Himalayas very hungry, and I definitely on these first 3 days I got what I wanted, and after that I was like, okay. I had a headache, of course, because I spent a lot of time on the altitude without kind of proper acclimatization. After a few weeks there, of course, it's different. But these first days you have to play it easy. And I still think that I did everything. Like, it's always interesting, because we like to think that once we go over particular threshold of our intermediate syndrome or some particular level of proficiency, then we have it all sorted out. The risk is sorted out, the fear, the emotions, everything is under control. But the truth is that if you want to try new things and feel this thrill and push yourself a little bit farther, do things that you haven't done before. And I love doing things for the first time. I love to kind of touch this limit of what I'm capable of. Then you always balance a little bit on this margin, and it's just for you to understand where your margin is. And I believe the more we do it, the more we understand where the margin is, and the more we can navigate it. Because of course a night like this out there a few years ago would be a very different experience for me that it was now. But still, when this lightnings were rolling and the thunder was rolling through these Himalayan valleys, and this never-ending thunder rolling, and I was sitting there in my tiny tent, I thought like, well, I got what I came for.
That's amazing. You were solo too, right?
Yes, I was alone.
Crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fun. I did count. Yeah. I'll go back to some of the videos. Go ahead and spin the wheel, Sean. The spin this wheel is brought to you by two parties. One is Calamity Kite Clinic. CalamityKiteClinic.com is the website if you want to go there. Maybe you want to learn how to ground handle better. That's the beginning of all paragliding sports, if you will. Ground handling is very important. But Sean runs his school in ground handling. And if you want to reach out to him, CalamityKiteClinic.com. Also, the spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. NebraskaPPG.com is the website. And also, you can reach out to him on Facebook, and that's the best way to get a hold of them. But they have a great training facility there in Nebraska. You having trouble with the wheel?
No, it's spinning.
What?
And you forgot to screen share?
Yeah, I don't think you got the screen sharing up, Sean.
It says it's loading. Why is
it?
Yeah.
Sounds like trouble with the wheel.
Just let us know who won.
Plainfield PPG.
Plainfield PPG, congratulations.
Here, hang on a second here. I'll try this again. I don't understand why it was giving me any issues. I got share sound optimized for video clip highlighted and everything. I got the screen highlighted. It says your screen share is loading. It says live, and yeah.
Weird.
I don't know.
That's okay.
That.
Well, congratulations, Plainfield PBG. Please reach out to me on the website, paraglidingtalk.com, and /contact and let me know where to send your prize. And we'll keep it a surprise since around Christmas time. We'll just keep it a Christmas secret. You'll get something special. Now, I've been sending out T-shirts, and we got these 3D printed dongles, all these micro SD card holders, all kinds of cool stuff. But we'll send you a little gift package. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of the show. By the way, if you want to support the show on Patreon or PayPal, you can do that. There's links in the description. Your contribution goes towards keeping the show going and all the stuff that is involved. You know, the Zoom has a certain fee. My website has a certain fee each month. There's a fee for, I mean, pretty much everything you can imagine. And then with shipping and everything, that's where that little bit of money goes to. My mom is demanding a raise. She told me tonight, so she wants more money. And so support the show on Patreon. You can support Mom. Yeah, see, Mom's in the chat now. She wants a T-shirt too. She's already got like 5. So yeah, you'll get another T-shirt, Mom.
7 days of the week.
That's right. She's got every show locked down. Okay, I wanted to get to this next question. Kind of an interesting one. Now, Kinga has had, now you've been through the X-Alps multiple times. And my question to you involving the X-Alps, being that you're a female pilot, have you faced any unique challenges or stereotypes in the sport that you've had to deal with, and how did you overcome those? And yes, it's a loaded question.
You are asking in particular from a female perspective, yes?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Red-bull X-Alps and general hike and fly races are this races that basically don't differentiate between men and women. There's so few women doing hike and fly at a high level, kind of high sport level, that we usually don't have a podium or don't have like a female winner or female category in any way. So there are some exceptions to it, but usually it's like in the I don't know, in the last X year, I was the only female participating. So, you know, if you think like this, it's pretty easy to be a first woman out there. So very naturally, we simply race with guys, yes. And we can, of course, discuss if at the sport level or physical level and other level, if it's kind of fair. I guess I'm probably not the best athlete or pilot to answer this question, because for me racing has always been about really learning from some of the greatest pilots we have out there in the sport, and when I think about pilots who inspire me, I've always mostly thought about male pilots, because there's like not so many female role models in the sport. Now there's more and more, and I know more and more very good and great female pilots, but especially when I started, there was basically, you know, like I mostly got inspired by male pilots, and I kind of like to think that at the end flying is same for all of us. There are some bits and pieces like discussing the weight and size of the wing, or discussing the peeing in the air, or other little technical parts, or discussing the physical part of especially shorter races. That's very difficult or even impossible, especially on a shorter distance, to really compete with men physically. For us, for women, but the longer the races and the more, especially hike and fly races that are like multi-day routes, they are really about strategy and resilience, and just this keeping positive attitude after a week of of struggle and million things that didn't go according to plan, and the whole team getting very, very tired and grumpy, and the weather not cooperating, and other different aspects, then bombing out and someone flying above your head. So keeping this grit and keeping this resilience, this is something that is probably way more important than our personal best on vertical kilometer. So in some ways, of course, we are in disadvantage, when it comes to racing with men, but in a massive way, I don't really think it matters. And the more the younger both male and female pilots come to play, the more they're already using all the experience from previous generations, and all the training ideas, and all the not only physical training, but also when it comes to train your flying skills in particular way, and also this all together with the general third, or I don't know which one, wave of feminism, convincing women and also young girls that then they can go for whatever they want. It's not anymore that they have to necessarily only be nice and pretty, but can chase their dreams in the same way as men can. I think it will. We have a very bright future for women chasing it hard, and chasing also
Amen.
hike and fly racing pretty hard. So yeah.
I've got, I want to mention two more sponsors real quick. Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you want to get some training. Lone Star, the website is lonestarparamotor.com. Also want to mention Max Acro. Max Marion is a local here in San Diego that he at one point was a world record holder for the infinite tumble. He did some pretty cool stuff over the water here in Torrey Pines, Gliderport. Well, now he's branched out. He started his own brand. And so he's training. maxacro.com is the website. If you want to maybe you want to do an SIV clinic, they do those here. He actually does some tours also in different places around the world. The most recent one that stood out to me was the Turkey trip. And so they did a great job out there. If you want to get on his clinics, maxacro.com. And then I also want to mention Resurgence PPG. Resurgence PPG is a way that you can support your men and women of uniform by making a tax-deductible donation to Resurgence PPG. You're going to get some guys that maybe are dealing with PTSD or the effects of just being dismembered or injured in battle, and all the things that come with that. Resurgence PPG has got a bunch of guys out of the trenches and back on top of life. And it's through their organization, which, by the way, again, is a 501c3. So it's a tax deductible donation when you contribute. So maybe you have a business that you're looking, you got your CPA said, hey, you better spend some money. That's a good place to do it. And you'll be glad that you did. Resurgencepppg.com. Sorry, I had to get those out of the way. So Kinga, you've got this new, let's talk about the school. I know you shared a little bit about what people can expect. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits that you get. What things really stand out? What experiences are you gleaning, and what are the things that stand out to you most, and what makes you passionate about guided tours and being instructing?
Oh, there's so many things I'm excited about. I'm really, really passionate about it. And more, the more I do it, and the more I see, the more I get feedback from it, because it's a little bit like not a little bit. It's really a big part of it is guiding people through the journey, this very personal journey of flying. And again, some pilots just come and have very limited time, and they only want to be guided to be always in the very good place and on the right day, yes, to maximize the flying potential. This is always like, this is obvious. This is always something that we want to do. I want my pilots to fly as much as possible, and when we have this window. And there are places that it's a little bit more obvious, and that there are places like where I am right now in New Zealand that you have to really nail your spots very often, and you can fly relatively often. But if you come just for a week or 2 weeks of holidays and have no local knowledge, it's very tricky, because the wind systems and the weather system in general is so complex that's very difficult to nail if you have such a limited amount of time. So you may be a good pilot and still not fly because you're constantly in some kind of wrong place, or underestimate the wind or overestimate it or whatever else. So there are pilots who just come for this particular purpose. And this is always kind of like a very basic. We want to fly as much as possible. I want my pilots to fly as much as possible and get this kind of good quality flying time. So not dumb flying of like soaring backwards and forwards or doing something that they already know how to do, because what's the point? So the big part of it, and this is constantly fascinating for me because it's different for every pilot, is to push my pilot a little bit, but not too much, to set tasks and goals and go places that are challenging but still safe, that are within their capacity, even if they don't necessarily, because the pilots come also with different confidence levels. Some may be overconfident, but usually when they come for some mentorship and guiding tour, they are not like, I know it all. They rather understand that there's still a lot to learn, which is already, again, makes it a little bit easier to work on this kind of personal level. And so setting these goals, and that for a pilot may be not necessarily, they may think that it's impossible, but then it's happening, and the satisfaction and joy and the way that they have to work hard for it, but then they're capable of doing it. Oh, this is amazing. This is hard to compare to anything. For example, I have a female pilot who already came to me twice for different kind of few day sessions. Once it was in the French Alps, then it was in the Dolomites. Now she's coming again here to New Zealand. So it also that's the best feedback that I can get, basically, if pilots come back for more and process stuff. Very often takes days or even weeks or even months, and then I get this email or phone call that something just connected, and wow, either I went flying and something that we did together is just completely connected, and now I fully understand what you meant, why we did it, what we did, and how important it was. And sometimes it's actually not even connected with flying. There are some stories with relationships, with the just name it. There's a lot happening there that even without, it's not so much that we sit and talk about boys, it's just that journey that the pilot can go through can actually affect in different ways, usually a very positive way, of course, their life on the ground in a completely surprising and incredible ways. It's about connecting to their emotions and opening, and so it's I really believe in this wholesome approach to flying, and in the way the happier and calmer we are, the more space we live for our passion, and the more space we give our flying, and the more we can safely again push it. Because of course I may push myself, and I have pushed myself alone pretty hard quite a few times, but main goal of my coaching is to help pilots progress and push themselves without taking this unnecessary risk that I've taken in my
Right.
past. So this is obviously the whole point of it. But there's so many side effects, good side effects of it. It's absolutely amazing. So for example, that especially it's always, every pilot is different. So it's really kind of, I could talk about it for hours, but just because with this one thing that just jumped at me now with this female pilot who came already twice, and it was within a couple of months, and she got different exercises and different things to focus on within this time. And then we met again, and I already could see the progress since the very first day we ever met. So first we had a week together, then all this time in between, then another week together. And on the very last day of this week, it all really came together. Yeah, this is my pilot. And she on her little low B wing completely like smashed it in the Dolomites, flew above the glaciers of Marmolada, freezing her ankles because she still flies in the open harness. And just to see this growth within this couple of months, and see, of course, it's not just me. She did all the work, and her hunger for flying and her passion for it is absolutely amazing. So just to see it, how this sharing what I have to share connects with other pilots' journey. Well, it's pretty mind blowing for me every time, you know. So I'm super passionate about it, and again, the pilots can take out of it as much or as little, or these bits and pieces they need at this particular time. Sometimes it's really more. Sometimes more happens on the ground. Sometimes really more happens when they discuss particular mindset features connected to flying, or particular technical parts, or planning. And when we talk about the weather, when I wave my hands and pretend that I'm thermaling, and sometimes, of course, more happens on the ground, and sometimes it's mostly about maximizing flying as much as possible, smashing this personal best, and you know, and it's equally satisfying, of course, because different pilots have different goals, and these goals also, it's not that they are written in stone. These goals also change the way that pilots progress, and I can really see it when pilots, and I had multiple pilots. I've had multiple pilots who've been coming. I actually literally yesterday I worked with a pilot who here in New Zealand, with whom I worked in France too for a few days. So the fact that these pilots come back, it's of course very satisfying for me that they see the value in it and they see that's worth it and connect to different aspects. But also for me, it's super satisfying to see this to follow this journey they're traveling, this progression they're traveling with the flying. So
I love it.
Yeah, there's so much I love about it. I could talk about it, but I'm not gonna spend the rest of the talk talking about why I love coaching. But I absolutely found my thing. So I'm very, very passionate about it.
How can people get a hold of you? How can they get involved in one of your clinics?
So the very natural way of getting in touch would be to go to my website. It's kingamaszta.com. Kinga, KNGAMASZTA.com. And there's like a lot of information, also a little bit more about details that come together with the coaching and whatever we want to focus on. If it's more cross-country flying, if it's more BV, if it's more being in the mountains or smashing your, again, personal best or whatever else. And social media, always I try to share a lot of stuff on Instagram that we've been sharing, on Facebook. Also Kinga Maszta or Kinga Gone Wild on Facebook. That's like old nick that I still use. But yes, generally online there's a lot of sharing from my side. And as you said, there's a lot of also kind of emotions and awe and beauty connected to flying. So
Kinga,
it
so
took me
great.
Actually, yeah. Sorry.
I'm so great. It's so awesome to have you on the show. It's been a little while. We've tried to connect the dots. You're always on an adventure, so I'm glad that you were able to make time to come on the show. Thank you again for.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
It looks
Always
like a
great to
flying
talk
day.
to you.
I see the clouds in the background, so I'm sure it's flyable right now, and you would normally be in the air. I don't even want to know if it was flyable. Too windy?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, good.
It wasn't. It's very windy today, so I'm
Okay.
in a nice sheltered spot. But it's very windy today.
Okay,
But the
good.
good days are coming. So yeah, now it's a big front
Great.
coming, passing through. If I showed you a little bit more of the sky, you would kind of see that's pretty windy out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see
So
it
all
looks
good.
blown
All
apart.
good. Lucky time.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, perfect. Well, we're going to go to the after show. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. Maybe you're sharing this link after the fact. Incredible information. Go follow Kinga on Instagram, follow her on Facebook. I'll put the links in the description. You saw some of the links in the chat already. And sign up. Maybe you want to go on an adventure. You can go in New Zealand. You can go there. They fly in a lot of different places. So you will not be disappointed. If I could just put a plug in for her about the fly camping. So be prepared to do some adventure camping. So you're going to fly, you're going to hike, you're going to camp, and probably with one of the best spirits in the whole sport. Go and enjoy. We're going to go to the after show. If you want to join us, there's some links in the description, so don't go away. Thank you for watching. Support the show on Patreon and PayPal. It is a great thing. You might learn something that's going to save your life or somebody else's. Maybe something that's just going to save you from busting your butt. It happens. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in there. Have a great night.
Thank you.